Program Director for this opening session of the IST-Africa 2023 conference. So in the first instance, thank you very much for your indulgence, and our sincere apologies that we'll be starting with the official program 30 minutes late. That unfortunately is unavoidable. Our minister was called to a very urgent parliamentary portfolio committee meeting, and of course, as we all learned, one of the lessons we've learned during the COVID-19 pandemic is to use all the various opportunities digital platforms have formed, very much consistent with the focus of this conference. So the minister is not in Cape Town, he's not in Parliament, he's actually in this building. Speaking to our portfolio committee in a room next door, and he's going to be with us in the next 3-4 minutes, and then we will start the program. So again, this is not the minister personally and the department. We do not like not being careful with people's time, because we value your time. We know that your presence here today is an investment of your time. So thank you very much for that understanding, and I can assure you that if the minister did have to honor this commitment in the portfolio committee, it's not only because of our commitment to our democracy, but also very much for his commitment to the science and innovation portfolio. So just for a bit of informal background, whilst we wait the formal start of proceedings, and the motivation for why the Department of Science and Innovation, through our Science Diplomacy Capital for Africa platform, is hosting event, and it's really threefold. I'm sure no one in this room needs to be convinced of the important role digital research and digital innovation plays in advancing inclusive and sustainable development. And as we as a global community is asked to respond to many key societal challenges, we believe that digital research and innovation is a key part of that response, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to bring together public sector, private sector, international partners to interrogate the role of what investment in digital research and innovation should play in responding to key societal challenges. So that's the first focus. The second focus, also very much a strategic priority for our department, is the Pan-African agenda. Now, during the weeks, you will hear the next 3 days about a long history IST-Africa has played in advancing Pan-African collaboration. And after the COVID-19 pandemic, when the event couldn't take place, we thought it was time to resuscitate IST-Africa. So today is very much a new start. And then lastly, we believe in our world, science knows no borders, and in a time when multilateralism and solidarity is under threat, certainly no effort should be spared to invite international cooperation. So I see my colleague is signaling to me that the minister is arriving. Also, just that you know that the minister's address will be broadcast live on South African Broadcasting Corporation, the SABC. So when the minister speaks, if we could just please kindly ask for your complete silence, as would normally be the case. So thank you again very much for your indulgence, and we're going to start any minute now. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. Specifically, would like to acknowledge the presence of South Africa's Minister for Higher Education, Science and Innovation, His Excellency Dr. Thibaut Nzimande, who has afforded us the privilege of enjoying time with him this morning for the opening session of IST-Africa 2023. Honourable Minister, we've already discussed with the audience the very important reasons why we are gathered here today. But as I invite you to deliver your welcoming speech, perhaps may I just emphasize why this event is so important for 3 key strategic priorities which Minister Nzimande is championing in South Africa. First of all, it's the digital economy and how we use research and innovation to advance that digital economy. You will know it's one of the key priority areas of South Africa's new decadal plan. The Minister is also firmly committed and is investing a lot of his time to advance the Pan-African agenda for research and innovation, a truly African-owned agenda where Africa invests in its own capabilities, and that's very much aligned with our focus here. And then, of course, lastly, science diplomacy as an instrument for fostering multilateralism, partnership, and friendship. Minister, thank you again for your time. It's a huge privilege for us to be able to listen to you this morning, and I have the privilege to invite you to the floor.
Yeah, I was getting worried and that you expect me to stretch my leg that side. And I always complain, you know, that there is very serious discrimination in South Africa against people who are not so tall. Don't say short people. You know, at least this podium looks much better because I can see you here. Normally, I normally see people who are way over there. Thank you very much, Mr. Dan Dutoit, our DDG, responsible for international relations in the Department of Science and Innovation. Let me start by greeting Her Excellency Ambassador Sandra Kramer, the EU's ambassador to South Africa and head of the EU delegation to South Africa in absentia. And of course, we appreciate the very good cooperation we have with the EU and South Africa as well as the continent. Acting DG of the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, Ms. Nungubaila Jordan Yani, Mr. David Ringrose from the EU Commission's DG Connect, who is joining us online from Brussels, Dr. Lumkile Mondi, Wits University, from Wits University, Ms. Mponjo Maruping, Sarao, South Africa, that's our South African Radio Astronomy. Mr. Ganesh Rasagam, the World Bank Group, South Africa. Ms. Leslie Donna Williams, Chimolohong Digital Innovation Precinct, South Africa. Mr. Marius Engelbrecht of Huawei, Southern Africa region. IST-Africa partners on the continent. Government representatives and industry representatives who are here, members of the research community, distinguished guests, all members who are participating, and members of the media. Good morning and welcome to the IST-Africa conference being hosted by my Department of Science and Innovation. I would also like to welcome and appreciate the team from the International Information Management Corporation, IIMC Ireland, and representatives from ministries and national councils responsible for information society in our African continent, who worked with the DSI team to put this conference together. It is an opportune moment that such a discussion is taking place and starting on the last day of the Africa Month, as we celebrated Africa Day on the 25th of May. Africa Day is an opportunity to celebrate African diversity and successes and to highlight the cultural and economic potential that exists on the African continent. Now that I see one ambassador coming in, when I acknowledge Ambassador Sandra Kramer, I should have said, and all other ambassadors who are here. I really do apologize about that, but it means I still need a bit more training on diplomatic protocols. Ambassador of the Western Sahara is here with us. Thank you very much too, and others who are here. Now, I was saying that this conference provides us with another opportunity not only to reflect but to come up with solutions as we continue to grapple with some of the most pressing challenges of our time. Given the multitude of global challenges that we face, including climate change, food security, health, energy, amongst others, there is an increasingly important role that ICT, information and communications technologies, can play and should play in providing possible solutions. Within this context, equally, there is also an important role for international cooperation in science, technology, and innovation in providing innovative solutions. The world is faced broadly with the same kinds of problems, especially in the wake of climate change and its implications. But the impact of these global challenges on the African continent, they take a particularly unique form, which is why there is a need for an African research agenda to tackle African problems, some of whom are global problems, but with particular impact on our continent. I'm saying this also because, ladies and gentlemen, science knows no borders. It's very important to say this. Always remember on COVID, Dan, this American friend of mine always says that some of the developed countries were wanting to provide vaccines, prioritizing themselves, as if any pandemic can be contained and be dealt with in one part of the country, of the world, and not the rest. This American friend of mine says that is like we are all swimming in a swimming pool and then we say, here is a corner that we are reserving for those who want to pee, and hope that the rest of the swimming pool won't be affected. Just as science knows no boundaries, problems that we are facing, many of them, like the age of pandemics that we have entered into, knows no boundaries. It is for this reason that the theme, for instance, for my budget vote, which I tabled in Parliament last week, was using science, technology, and innovation to grow our country and together resolve its challenges. South Africa's investment in science, technology, and innovation, which if I can share this with you for a bit, is driven by our government's objective to accelerate sustainable and inclusive economic growth. It's a global problem as well. We need global and inclusive economic growth. It's something very important to also use science to fight against unequal and uneven development in the world. That is why, by the way, when we hosted the World Science Forum in December last year, its theme was Science for Social Justice. It's very important. As government, we are guided by South Africa's National Development Plan, which is a comprehensive growth and development strategy for our country, which emphasizes the role of science, technology, and innovation in achieving its Vision 2030. Through our white paper on science and innovation, our government has adopted what we call a whole-of-society approach to innovation, which is implemented by our 10-year strategy, 2021 to 2031, which we call the Decadal Plan, which is the implementation mechanism of our white paper and has become one of the key instruments for South Africa's economic reconstruction and recovery plan, and also as part of building a capable state. On a global level, our decadal plan, we see it as also responding to the objectives of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, the SDGs. One of the key objectives of our decadal plan include accelerating the implementation of the Pan-African Science Technology Innovation Agenda and focusing on inclusivity, transformation, SMME support, and job creation, amongst others. As South Africa, we are absolutely clear. We are not an island. We are part of the African continent. Whatever advantage we may have, the fact that we have got the single largest public university system and the single largest science infrastructure on the continent means that those platforms must also be used for the development of the continent as a whole, over and above our own national objectives. As a department, we recognize that there's been rapid technological change, driven primarily by technology that enables the fusion of the physical and digital worlds. To adequately respond to this rapid technological change, the decadal plan has identified a number of what we call five foundational digital domains. That is, firstly, artificial intelligence, robotics, and cybernetics. 2, augmented or virtual or mixed reality. 3, modeling and simulation. 4, blockchain and cybersecurity. And 5, Internet of Things and cloud computing, in which South Africa will focus its resources in the next 10 years. The aim is to build foundational capabilities in these domains over the next 10 years. By the way, when we say that we are part of the African continent, I also do need to say here that we are amongst the top 5 countries in the world who have foreign students studying in our country. And 70% of those students come from the rest of the African continent. So it's not theory that we are talking about. It's really very practical. Sometimes when we've got problems here and there, people tend to categorize South Africa as a xenophobic country. We are not a xenophobic country. We are part of the African continent. It's very important. In order to ensure that we encourage innovation, we have established an innovation fund, and this year we are committed to upscale its implementation in order to support the early development and expansion stages of technology-based South African firms. We also remain resolute to increase our gross domestic investment in research and development as a percentage of gross domestic product, with the aim of achieving our national development plan's target of having 1.5% spend of our GDP into science, technology, and innovation. That still remains our goal. Our Department of Science and Innovation has also established a 10-year foundational digital capabilities research program, which is the anchor intervention in support of our decadal plan priority. And one of our decadal plan's priority is the digital economy as a new source of economic and social development. That's why we take this gathering so seriously as South Africa. I'm sure you got my apology that I was late. I had to start in Parliament, which is what we had to do, but I had to excuse myself from the committee and say, I have got this very important gathering that at least I would like to send a message when it's starting and it's opening. So our foundational digital capabilities research program is deliberate on building the foundational digital capabilities that are required to form the building blocks of application development and customization within all the economic sectors that could be leveraged for South Africa to leapfrog into the digital economy space. To date, through this instrument, we have assessed over 89 locally developed technologies, with a few promising technologies selected for acquisition and deployment in schools, waste management, and pollution management, as well as to fight crime in society. Our Department of Science and Innovation will prioritize initiatives also for inclusive development and intellectual property exploitation in ICT, renewable energy, and the circular economy. The focus on facilitating the commercialization of grassroots innovation and access to publicly available intellectual property will be pursued with the support for entrepreneurs. We are still concerned, by the way, that a lot of research products from our continent get IPs from outside the continent. We do need to increase IP generation in the African continent, and I hope that this will be a matter that through this conference we will also focus on. As Africans, we are, as I have said, aware of the major social and economic challenges facing our continent. We're not hiding this. It is therefore important that as part of the research and innovation programs we fund, we must continue to ask pertinent questions about transformation and inclusivity, which should include dimensions such as demographics, translation of research results into social and economic benefits to society, digital transformation of the STI business, and establishment of a digital economy. Part of our agenda, by the way, is also to mobilize the African diaspora. The African diaspora onto our agenda. We know that many of our African compatriots, for reasons many of them that are outside their control, are doing excellent work in the rest of the world. And we need to harness that knowledge as part of developing the African continent. And we hope our partners like the EU will continue to support us in that effort in particular. I'm particularly pleased today that this ICT-Africa serves as a platform that continues to engage with a variety of stakeholders from both the public and the private sector, as well as involving the voice of our youth to have conversations on these issues, including the role of ICT. In South Africa, we have a big debate now that the youth must lead. Of course, we agree that young people must lead, but you do need generational mix, not just young people on their own. Also, you can't lead us, by the way, as young people if you are not educated. We reject that. We are opposed to that. The world today requires educated leaders, including political leaders who are educated. It is very, very important. I've also noticed that discussions over the coming days will also focus on themes such as e-health, societal implications of technology, next generation computing, and cybersecurity. By the way, without appear to be boasting done, it's important to share with this platform that the square kilometer array is going to generate so much data that at this moment there is no existing computational capacity that will be able to manage the data we are going to generate from the SKA. That's a huge opportunity for the African continent to enter the high-end, high-level computing sphere and capacity, just using our square kilometer array. That is why we're glad to have partners in our continent, and we would like to have more partners around the square kilometer array. As a Department of Science and Innovation, we also continue to support the broader work of government through our strategic STI initiatives. This is important because this is what we would like to see also, that science and technology supporting our governments, so that our governments in the continent are also informed by well researched and scientifically determined options in front of us. For instance, we have prioritized our involvement as the Department of Science and Innovation in health innovation, particularly in the areas of medical device and diagnostic innovation, active pharmaceutical ingredient technology innovation, and supporting health needs through vaccine research, development, and manufacturing strategy. We are also committed to support the procurement of locally developed technologies through the Technology Acquisition and Deployment Fund. We prioritize initiatives for inclusive development and intellectually property exploitation in ICT, renewable energy, and the circular economy. Circular in this way, not secular in the SEULAR meaning of it. Through our mobile applications laboratory, or what we call the MLab, we'll be establishing a community-centered coding laboratory and start an ecosystem development program focused on school learners and selected community members. We are doing a lot of work with our living labs through a number of communities in South Africa. These labs also provide specialized innovation infrastructure and innovation support program to mentor young tech entrepreneurs to develop and commercialize, deploy technological solutions to address local economic challenges and communities. I'm here representing the South African government, but I also have got my own personal ideals that I would like to see, things I would like to see happening in the continent. Two things I would like to see amongst many happening in our continent. The building of libraries. throughout our continent, school and community libraries, and the building of school laboratories. I'm very passionate about those two things because I have absolutely no doubt that if we can put a huge effort into that, we will develop a literate and scientific African continent, which is what we need, big time. Some of the work we've been doing, for instance, with our M-Labs, is that we've supported 200 aspiring innovators through design thinking training, the development of 28 prototypes and 17 market-ready products, and the registration of 14 businesses. We continue to identify grassroots innovators, which is important because our philosophy is that innovation is everywhere. Even at grassroots level, you will find innovation. We need to identify it wherever it is and be able to enhance it. Especially women and young people, and to assist them to enhance their innovations and skills through a range of interventions, including funding and business development support towards pre-commercialization. Through our Innovation for Service Delivery programs, which is aimed at improving the provision of basic service delivery in municipalities, we have partnered with our own local government association representing all municipalities in the country to expand the number of municipalities participating in what we call the Municipal Innovation Maturity Index, working with each municipality to assess where is each municipality in relation to science, technology, and innovation. This tool which we are using now, which is digitized, by the way, provides critical information on the innovation capabilities and readiness of local government to adopt innovation and technology. These we're just sharing with you as amongst the examples of the things we are doing. We are not saying that they are perfect, but they've got a lot of potential, and we are willing to share with the rest of the continent some of our own successes and weaknesses. I'm saying this now that we are holding this conference here in South Africa. Now, support for Agenda 2063, which is the African Union's agenda. As South Africa, we have strategic bilateral and multilateral agreements with other African countries, and we work closely to support Agenda 2063, which is Africa's strategic framework that aims to deliver Africa inclusive and sustainable development pursued under Pan-Africanism. The achievement of Aspiration 1 of Agenda 2063, which is a prosperous Africa based on inclusive growth and sustainable development, requires that Africa make significant investments in education with the aim of developing human and social capital through an education and skills revolution emphasizing innovation, science, and technology. By the way, our continent will continue to remain behind in science, technology, and innovation if we don't raise the standard of education in the continent for everyone. It's very important. That's why you can't talk STI without also talking education and educational advancement. We continue to invest in research through strategic research instruments such as the South African Research Chairs Initiatives and the Centers of Excellence. These research chairs initiatives, we find them in South Africa in different parts of the continent for those countries to use them to pursue their priority areas for research and development. Something that is very important. To date, 257 research chairs have been established, both in South Africa and in the continent, of which 216 are operational. Of the operational chairs, 48% are held by women. Now, this is a big achievement from where we come from, but it's still not enough. We would like to see more women leading in this. I have already said something about the square kilometer array, that we continue to work with our partners in the continent, and we see the SKA serving as a springboard towards enhanced digital drivers for growth, as I have already indicated with the computational capacity that we will have to create out of this. We have already commenced, let me say so, with the construction of the SKA project in South Africa. Those big dishes, now we've started with them. And it's going to be the single largest astronomy infrastructure in the world, located here in our continent. Our construction, together with that of Australia, forms the biggest ever radio telescope array. And it is estimated that these two sites will together create 710 petabytes of science data when fully operational in 2029. It's therefore expected that astronomers can get 50 years or more of transformational science just through the square kilometer array alone. This initiative is expected to boost science awareness and outreach, stimulate science tourism in the region, and create employment. By the way, this issue of science tourism is very important because there is lots of scientific developments in our continent. We can even use it to promote tourism generally through science tourism into the African continent. Another area that I'm very passionate about is artificial intelligence. One of our former DGs, Dan, says to me, was DG of communication, if South Africa and Africa remains behind on artificial intelligence, you are in trouble. So it's very important that we must become part of this. AI, as it is called, has emerged globally as a fourth industrial revolution transformative technology that has the potential to revolutionize everything, including education. By the way, I'm going to be asking our Council for Higher Education as to what is the meaning of this new AI tool. What is it? Chatbot. What is it? ChatGPT. Okay. ChatGPT. I'm not a scientist. I'm a science policy maker, remember. This has got huge implications for our educational system. I want to ask our Council for Higher Education to assess the implications of this for our education system. But the development of AI systems is one such area that has seen significant progress in recent years in South Africa. Universities, through AI research and innovation, are pivotal in positioning South Africa and the continent as a global technological competitor. As the Minister responsible for education and training, the White Paper for Post-School Education and Training acknowledges that as digital technologies have become more accessible, it is therefore critical to incorporate this element into conceptualizing different modes of education and training provision. My strong belief, we must not just be users of AI, we must also be contributors to AI ourselves. We must also be innovators, and we are quite capable of doing so as the African continent. We have got a number of initiatives in South Africa on AI around which we would like to actually engage and share and partner with the rest of the continent. For example, we are developing AI capacities in the manufacturing value chain, healthcare, farming and agriculture, and food processing. Some of these initiatives are working together with the AI Institute of South Africa, which has got a great potential even to help fight the problem of youth unemployment by imparting the much-needed modern skills that will turn them into job creators, innovators, and shapers of this 21st century. A number of catalytic projects that we have established in this area. In conclusion, I hope that the objectives of the IST-Africa will contribute to, amongst other things, the following: strategic engagements in the continent, with the continent, on international research, innovation, and policy cooperation, fostering greater coordination of ICT-related research and innovation activities, knowledge sharing, capacity building, and skills transfer between IST-Africa partner countries, enhance global engagements, including through the Africa-EU Strategic Partnership, Madam Ambassador, that is ICT-enabled research and innovation supporting sustainable development, and also out of this gathering, also begin to reflect and enrich the supporting of science, technology, and innovation strategy for Africa, STISA 2024. I also hope that the conference engagements over the next few days will also serve to strengthen partnerships and cooperation in STI within our continent. It is through such partnerships that we will enrich the global scientific knowledge base to address our global challenges and build lasting international partnerships. I always say this to people, that developing science, technology, and innovation, including ICT technologies on the African continent to solve Africa's problems, that will actually contribute not just to knowledge in Africa, it will contribute to global knowledge. Even how to deal with problems that the rest of the world had not started grappling with. But by grappling with them in the African continent, we are able to contribute to knowledge. As an African continent, our ambition is to be producers and not just consumers of knowledge. As a minister, I'm also committed to work with my counterpart in the continent to establish what one may call an Africa Research Fund to support research and development priorities for our African continent, an African research agenda supported by the diaspora and our partners like the EU. I would lastly like to encourage you to network throughout the conference. That's very important in order for all of us to see the impact of IST-Africa 2023 conference in action going forward. Thank you very much, and I wish you a successful conference.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I think your directives, your guidance to this event is very clear. Our deliberations should be focused on ensuring that research and innovation is sensitive to the needs of our society to advance social justice. We should be indeed celebrating the success of African research and innovation and advance that Pan-African agenda. And I think most importantly also, Minister, as you concluded, we should use this opportunity for reinforcing global solidarity and friendship. Minister, with your permission, I would like to invite Mr. Paul Cunningham, who is the Director of the IST-Africa Partnership, just to present to Minister a small token of appreciation on behalf of the IST-Africa partners. Paul, please. Yes. Yes, for the first.
So that there's evidence.
Indeed, Minister Nzimande acknowledged, and Excellency, the Honourable Ambassador from the Western Sahara joined us, but I also noticed in the audience a few other members of the diplomatic community has joined us, the Ambassador of Mexico, amongst others. Also the strong support from our partners at the Embassy of the People's Republic of China, Finland, the United Kingdom, many, many others. So please do not feel affronted. I see our Canadian friends there as well, if we have not acknowledged. We really see our vision of our capital city of Tshwane being a science diplomacy capital for Africa being achieved today, bringing the diplomatic community and the scientific community together. IST-Africa has a long and a proud history. First event was organized in this very building in 2006, just when Dr. Phil Majwacha, our DG, was appointed for the first time. And if IST-Africa over the years were able to sustain its influence for advancing ICT research in Africa, but specifically partnerships between Africa and Europe, it's in no small part due to the consistent support the partnership received from the European Union over many years. And we therefore thought it would be appropriate to invite Ambassador Sandra Kramer, the European Union's ambassador in South Africa, and a strong and a much valued friend of science and innovation in South Africa, to address us. Ambassador, please.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the honor and the pleasure to having me. Just a few words, but before that, just a very warm greeting to Minister of Department of Science and Innovation, Minister Nzimande. It is a pleasure to see you again, and a very big pleasure for me to be here. Also, the DG and the DDG of the department, and distinguished members of other departments. And of course, colleagues at DSI, of the Diplomatic Corps, acknowledging them as well, and some of the European Union member states that are here, which the DDG just pointed out. I'm very glad. I'm also very glad that one of my esteemed colleagues is online, Director in the Department for Digital Affairs, Thibaut Kleiner, and possibly also David Ringrose, so I send my greetings to them. I've learned one thing in South Africa already, and that is when I say all protocols observed, everything is fine. So I'm going to say all protocols observed, and I hope that I've acknowledged everyone. And I'm always very, very pleased to speak on our very dynamic and ongoing partnership with South Africa and the European Union. You know, the European Union is a strong partner for South Africa in many ways. There's 27 member states of the European Union, and 22 are represented in South Africa. We have a very strong contingency here. And we place research and innovation at the very center of our development and growth priorities, especially also towards the Sustainable Development Goals. And our partnership is demonstrated in the very dynamic exchanges and innovations that are supported through the European Union's Horizon Europe program, as well as the strategic partnership that the EU enjoys with South Africa, only 1 out of 10 in this world. So let me bring 3 points to your attention, very briefly. Number 1, South Africa is currently ranked 8 out of the 200-something countries in terms of budget share and participation of the funding received from the Horizon Europe program. So South Africa, for a total of 28 million, is currently participating in various research projects where institutes and individuals, academics, researchers are joining for projects supported through the Horizon program. We have a strong partnership, as you said, Minister, and we're proud of it. Number 2, also at the regional level, we've established a dialogue on research and innovation between the EU and the Africa Union. And that shapes regional and continental priorities and strategic areas of partnership in fields such as mentioned by the Minister: science, technology, innovation, but also space, green energy, maritime, biodiversity, health sciences, engineering. We, for example, are organizing on the 15th of June in Cape Town an Africa Union, European Union Innovation Festival. And for all those here, you are most welcome, of course, to join. There are 4 areas that I wish to highlight, which are flagships under our Science, Technology and Innovation program, namely the Africa Union, European Union Innovation Agenda, the Earth Observation and Space, regional centers of excellence in the areas of green transition, and the AU-EU flagship on data governance. Now, number 3, here in South Africa particularly, we support our friends at the Department of Science and Innovation through a program specifically aimed to establish a vibrant and cohesive national system of innovation. This is an ecosystem that allows knowledge, research and innovation to flow into other areas of the economy, but also the government and civil society, towards a more knowledge-driven country. And that support program for the National System of Innovation is valued at 16 million euros. And it led to the development of new technologies that improve the delivery of public services and increase the uptake of innovative solutions at various levels of the public sector in South Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, digital technology is changing people's life rapidly around the globe. Who would have thought a couple of decades ago that we would only need one handheld device, a mobile phone, to do our grocery shopping, our banking, our correspondence, prove that we're vaccinated, stream music, watch anything at any time, and the list goes on. Digital technologies are changing people's lives in ways that we do not yet fully comprehend. IE is one of them, and the ChatGPT is definitely something we need to look into, Minister. The next thing we know, it writes our speeches. We, however, understand the significant effect that the rate of connectivity and digitalization is having on all areas of human life and the environment. The European Union digital strategy aims to make this transformation work for people and business, while helping to achieve the target of a climate-neutral Europe by 2050. So I must underline that we're determined to make this digital decade a reality and see in South Africa an important partner in this ambition. And in partnership with South Africa, we will take action in setting standards that are human-centric and that leverage data, technology and infrastructure to make sure no one is left behind. In other words, we must make sure that we bridge the digital divide that exists between different communities and different countries. It's access to hardware and software and in connectivity so that digitalization can contribute to sustainable production and consumption patterns and towards reducing persistent inequalities. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to wish, first of all, IST-Africa a very good restart after the COVID break. I really hope that, again, this particular event will travel across Africa and that we are constantly feeding each other with information, with ideas, with the innovation and the science that is needed. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity and the honor to speak to you all today, and you have a very heavy program ahead of you, so I wish all of you very exciting and very insightful days ahead. And I just would like to say to the Minister and the Department of Science and Innovation, your motto, making it possible, is our motto as well, making it possible in Africa, for Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador, for those words and indeed the firm hand of friendship and partnership and extended. And I'm sure the Minister will permit me to say that we will reciprocate, as indeed with all our partners here. Ladies and gentlemen, during the next few minutes, unfortunately our Minister will have to leave. He will have to go back to Parliament, but I can assure you that is because he's fighting the good fight there. The fight we've been talking about here, and that is for science and innovation to advance development. We will now join the colleagues in Brussels. So are the connection ready for the transmission? Thank you very much again, Minister. It's always a bit ironic at an event focused on digital technology that we have challenges. It's almost an unwritten rule. Can I just get a signal from someone if what is happening?
Ladies and gentlemen, dear partners, hello from Brussels, the capital of Europe. And it is really an honor and also a pleasure to welcome you and to open this IST-Africa Week. As you know, South Africa is a key political and economic partner for Europe on the African continent. The country actually has been a partner in research for 25 years with the EU, and it is actually a successful country applicant in the EU research framework programs. I should say that we are really proud of this cooperation between the EU and South Africa. Our digital partnership is translated through PRIDA, the Policy and Regulation Initiative for Digital Africa. This is a very important project jointly implemented by the European Commission, by the African Union, and by the ITU. While the current PRIDA project is coming to an end, we are already working on the follow-up, responding to the needs of the partnership and our member states. So this long experience, 25 years of working together, will be instrumental in guiding an even stronger partnership in the digital field for the benefit of South Africa and for the benefit of the European Union. As you know, we are also facing changing times. And in the geopolitical context of today, the EU has also a clear interest to work with like-minded partners like South Africa at a time when democratic values and the global economy are under pressure. So South Africa is a priority country for the EU. In Southern Africa, it is a front runner in digital transformation. But we also believe that South Africa has the capacity to take the lead in Africa on a pan-African digital policy. And this is why we are very keen on multiplying our areas for cooperation and supporting Africa's digital transformation through partnership with South Africa. Our vision is simple. We want the technology, the digital technology, to be for the people. We don't want a world where humans are hostage of the technology. We want a human-centric digital partnership based on common core interests and values, based on common principles that we share between Europe, between Africa, and where we can together work for what we call in the EU our digital decade. So in that respect, we welcome very much the signature of the Declaration of the Future of the Internet that is largely based on our European Declaration of Digital Rights and Principles, and we look forward to more African countries joining this declaration. Let me remind our 4 pillars. We call them the 4 cardinal points in our digital compass. First, ensuring secure and reliable infrastructure. Second, promoting digital skills, and this is actually very important. Third, supporting entrepreneurship and the transformation of SMEs. And fourth, developing access to e-government and services. These 4 pillars correspond not only to the priorities of the EU, but also we believe very strongly to the priorities of many African countries. In fact, it was in our strategy for Africa already a few years ago, the same areas, and always with a common direction, putting the humans at the center. This is not just about values, it is not just about a philosophical approach. It's also about something very concrete, very pragmatic. We want to make sure that our citizens embrace the positive aspects of the digital transformation. Too often, they are afraid or they don't have the skills to participate in these opportunities. And we believe that this digital transformation is key to achieve the sustainable development goals. So to that extent, Europe wants to play its part and also to help the African continent to advance and to accelerate. And that's why, thanks to our Global Gateway strategy, we will mobilize funding to support South Africa and the African continent. Actually, we have in mind to dedicate 10% of our total budget of 300 billion euros to the digital transformation. This means investment in resilience and secure digital networks and infrastructures. Using also trusted vendors is important there. You don't want your networks to be unreliable. You don't want to be spied on because you pick the wrong vendor. And in that context, we want to make sure that the EU-Africa Global Gateway Investment Package will deliver. Just to remind you that it's about 100 million already disbursed for the Euro-Africa Gateway cable, or even more money to build the regional fiber optic backbones across Africa. We are serious when we mean investment through the Global Gateway. We are serious when we say that Africa has a lot of opportunities through the digital transformation. But we need to make it right. We need to make sure that people are at the heart and will benefit. We need to make sure that we also create ecosystems that will benefit African countries. not like other of international partners that invest by sending 2,000 people just to build the infrastructure, and then they go home, and if there is a problem, it's your problem. This is not the European vision. What we believe is that we build partnerships, we help investing, but first and foremost, we help yourself to develop your own ecosystems, your skills, and your future. So in that respect, I would flag the 5G toolbox as an important tool so that cybersecurity is also at the heart of our networks, and so that you make sure in Europe, but also in Africa, that the networks deliver what they should. Today, you have the opportunity to interact with many of the partners. And I would commend really the African business communities. We are talking about vibrant entrepreneurs. We are talking about leaders that are making an impact on the African continent. We are talking about business partners for Europe as well. And just to recall that during the EU-South Africa Ministerial Political Dialogue of January 2023, ministers reviewed the strategic partnership on areas of mutual interest. And one of the ideas was really to make business together and to use the digital transition to enhance our benefits on the two sides of our two continents. So it is time now for all of us to work for this vision. And we all know that South Africa, as a key member of the African Union, has the capacity to take the lead and to make sure that through Smart Africa Network, through the D4D Hub, we can work together for a better future. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, many thanks for inviting me, and I wish you a fantastic event, fantastic discussions, and just to repeat that the EU is by your side as a partner and also as an opportunity for further work and further investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kleiner and Ambassador. We'd also ask you to express our appreciation to the colleagues in Brussels. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your presence in this opening session. We're going to have a short break now, because as the Minister indicated, one of the key objectives of this meeting is actually just to bring us together, to engage, and I think we've had much food for thought which should inspire partnerships, Africa-European, North-South, South-South, Pan-African. That is why we are here for, and then we'll continue with the rest of the program at 10:45. There is a series of well-established and respected thought leaders who will be engaging with us, and we do encourage you to stay with us for the next 3 days. So thank you again very much for your indulgence, for our late start this morning, and your presence here. Thank you.